and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. No, my voice is not there this morning. So good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday, January 12th. Happy Thursday. We are in that set. We are rounding the end of the second week of January 2023. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am Lori Monaco, coming to you from a very cloudy. It was raining and icing like about an hour ago, but now it's just raining. Southern Connecticut, Southern New England.
Hola, mi gente, aquí con la Margarita. Good morning, Milagros, Tiffany, Gail. And I'm coming, I don't even know what it looks like outside because the blinds are still drawn. But it's probably like every other day here in Tampa, Florida. But it's exciting. It's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday the 13th. I've always loved how, I think it's been several Januaries where it's always Friday the 13th. And that's always been a great day. Everybody always, you know how many people say, oh, it's a bad Friday the 13th. It's a bad luck day. You're like, oh my God, why? What made it that? Nobody has a fucking clue as to what Friday the 13th signifies. And they just went along with the rumor that it was bad luck. But yeah, it was a day where they murdered, blasphemed, and robbed my Knights Templars, King Richard from France, who was broke and wanted their money. So anyway, that's why they were all murdered on Friday the 13th in, I believe, the 11th century or the 12th century. I'll get back to you on that, but that's what happened. And of course, one of the the cardinals of the Vatican. But anyway, so good morning. And yes, today's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday the 13th. We're at the halfway midpoint of however you want to say, really, of January. So do you know what time it is?
It's not Miller time. Wait, let me think. I don't know what time.
It's time to show up, pop up, bam, be a squiggy in your Laverne, and handle your business. Entryway, doorway, opening into your new beginnings of 2023. That's what time it is. I've never heard that commercial. Do you know my niece and her friend and I went to this vintage place on Sunday, and I saw a whole bunch of Life magazines, and they were huge. Like, I forgot how huge Life magazines were. Yes. And the earliest I saw was like 1952. They were selling the magazines for $20, $25. And they were like a quarter back then. And Elizabeth Taylor was on one of them. I mean, they had different people. 1968, they're talking about America trying to grasp the war on drugs. It was ridiculous. But on the back of every magazine, with the exception of one, they were all cigarette. Benson and Hedges, Paul Moss, and I guess the introduction of Salem menthol, because they made a big thing about mint and all that. And only one of them was a Coca-Cola commercial. And I was like, and I'm telling you, this thing.
And what year was that? What year was that?
It ranged from like 52 up until 71, the magazine.
What was the year they took the Coke out of Coca-Cola? That was earlier than that, right? I think it was in the 40s that they took the Coke. Man, that must have really gave you a real kick when it had the cocaine in it.
But have they ever taken out the MSG in anything? They just renamed it. So who's to say? That's why when you
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Oh, maybe that the Coke never went out. Yeah.
A Marlboro, man. Gail, you're so right. My mother was a Marlboro.
I think that they did take the Coke out because it was more profitable not to put it in Coca-Cola and to sell it out, on the streets.
Could be.
Hey, Connie's on. Good morning, Connie. All right.
My sister?
Connie Gord Degasse. Is that
hi.
I had my glasses on. Good morning, Milagros, Tiffany, Kathy's in the house. Gail, you said hi to everybody. Nancy Green's popped on. This is fabulous. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. This is
Yes,
perfect
you know.
because we are continuing our conversation on um, awareness. Remember, the trifecta for the year, or yeah, every 3 months, every quarter, focusing on one big topic, then breaking it down to monthly topics. So this quarter is know thyself.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I'm starting from. So who am I now? And that's what we're going to actually talk about today. So the month of January is awareness, and we've talked about all starting with talking about what awareness is, the reflection in the mirror, talking about the life that we are living, and then that's what we're going to talk about today is who are you, then and now. Pure personal development talks about, you don't want to focus on the past. You want to focus on, and coaching does focus on the present and really more the present and then into the future. Therapist tends to talk about, or therapy talks about the past, but you kind of have to talk about it. You can't ignore the past. You just can't live and make the past the present. All you have to do is acknowledge the past. And we have to talk about that because the past is what made you who you are today. So you have to understand who you are today from that past, then make the changes necessary today to create the new you for the future. And that's the way that works. So we're going to be talking about then and now. We're going to be talking about, are you where you want to be? We already started to talk about that on Tuesday with living your life. Not where I want to be, exactly where I need to be. So Gladiator Guru said something in a conversation that maybe you're not where you want to be, but you're exactly where you need to be. And so we're going to touch on that subject today. All right.
Yeah, we forget that. I wrote, and I've been putting it on, where you are the historian of your yesterday. You see, a lot of us go back and we're historians. We love history. It was my favorite subject in school. I loved to read and then research. I still do. I read something and then I'm researching it on all different platforms and books and whatever. I'll call people because I have that need to understand, right? I don't like to take what I heard from different people and run with it because, oh, they're smarter than me, they have more books than me. I like to follow what I feel, right? So when I created the Understand Her journal, my journey, it was imperative to remind people who buy that you are the historian of your past. Don't let anybody rewrite your past because then they own your present. You went through that. Don't let nobody tell you to forget it, to get over it. None of that. It is who we are today. And thank you for saying that, badass. If we don't accept that everybody's journey is a different path, some have it all paved up. And the only thing difficult about their life is that they probably got to wipe their own ass at this point, right? But then who bothers with them? They have an easy life. They don't know what it is to struggle. They don't know what it is to understand. When you've struggled, you're going to have bumpy paths. You're going to have a no trail path. You're going to have to get out and move branches, or you're going to have to make a detour. All of that, you know what I'm talking about. But it is your journey that you had to travel. And you can't compare your past and your sufferings and your scars to other people's who either are equal with you or they ventured up ahead. And don't use your past as a crutch as to why you're not where you're supposed to be. But you have it and it's yours. Don't deny it. Don't ignore it. Don't embrace it. Embrace it and then keep it where it's supposed to be. Because if not, it affects where you are today. So then when you do that, guess what happens? You can't be objective about your awareness because the majority of your brain is a victimization brain, right? So then the awareness part, nah, they don't know what they're talking about. You just don't understand me. How many coaches have heard that from people? And you're right, we're not therapists, but how many of us have heard that from people? When we say, okay, so what do you want to do? What's your next step to get closer to the goal that you've set for yourself? Let's say we said that to somebody because we're not therapists. We're not going to be, or, highlighting your past. But then they'll say, you just don't understand what I went through,
Don't.
because
They,
they're comfortable with being in that situation that
yeah,
happened
they want to
2
keep
years
it.
ago.
They want to, yeah. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of that scene in uh Medea Goes to Jail, and they're in the therapy, they're in the session with the group session with the pastor, and they're saying something, and this one girl's going, but you don't know what he did to me. You know, she's talking about her father, and Medea just jumps in and says, you're here though, like he's out there, and whatever he did, he's out there and you're in here, and so you're paying through, you know, whatever she said.
He
It was
said,
so,
your choices brought you here, not what he did to you, what you chose to. They were in jail, and it was the lady who helps them not become prostitutes. She was like a nun. I remember that. And she's like, shut up. Your choices brought you here today. But you know, what he did to me. And she's like, you got to get over that. You got whatever you brought you here is the choices you made, not what he did. And I love that. Thank you for bringing that up, because I think Tyler Perry is awesome. And that is true. We tend to use whatever people did to us in our past as a
that's an
crutch,
excuse.
as an excuse, as a
That's,
free ticket, as
yep.
pass go to live mediocre and blame the world, because that's what it is.
All right, before let's get our intentions set. Let's do our mantra, and then that's really rock and roll into who are you, because then Mama's got to go out for a few minutes to the bus stop, and then I will come back on for that conversation. So set your intention for whatever it is today. Okay, that's we are always intentional on Viva. We're reminding you to set an intention today. You can set it now, you can set it after the show, but take a moment if you can and just set one intention right now. And you
Mm-hmm.
can change your intention throughout the day, but maybe your intention is just simply to just have a great day today. It doesn't have to be a complicated intention. I intend to have a great day today. No matter what comes my way, I'm going to make it a great day today. And
Do it with gratitude. Even if you don't have a great day, be grateful you experience whatever you experience. Be grateful you were able to use your five senses to experience whatever the hell you experience, whether good or bad. Just do everything in gratitude.
yay, that's right. Good morning, Georgianne. Nice to see you. I missed you. All right, so let's do our mantra, and then let's get rocking and rolling. Here we go. Say it loud, say it proud, say it loudly inside if you feel uncomfortable to say it out. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole.
And I own my truth.
And I keep it real. Good morning, Arlene and Darlene.
Yes, good morning, Arlene
Georgianne.
and Darlene. All right. So today's conversation is, and for those of you that came on late or haven't been on the show, definitely check out some of the other shows. So Georgianne and Jonathan came on. Good morning, Jonathan. So lovely to say. We love when the guys come on.
Cookie.
We are doing we're doing what we normally do with Viva, but we're kind of creating this 12-month long coaching session, and we're splitting things up quarterly. So this quarter, January, February, March, is know thyself, getting to know ourselves. Who am I now? Where am I starting from? And then each month is a specific focus. So January is the focus on awareness. February will be a focus on oops, I skipped a page, on acknowledge and acceptance, and March will be accountability. And then each quarter will have a different topic, and then each month will be different focus. So today we still are talking about awareness, and we're awareness of self, awareness of surroundings. So today's conversation is, who are you then and now? What are you aware of? We can't be aware of a future. So we can't think of who we want to be. I'm aware of that. Awareness is the present moment. So you can either know the present or the past. That's the only awareness that you can have. So let's start off with that. Who am I now? Who are you now? Then and now. When you look back at yourself, when you look back at your past, Look back from when you were a child, look back from you were a teen, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, however far you need to go up, and then say, who was I then and who am I now, and how has my then contributed to my now?
And ask yourself often, am I observing my then and my now, the situations, the people around me accurately, or am I projecting what I feel onto what is actually happening? Because that is also people like, well, things aren't always what they seem, and things are exactly what they are. So, do you project your own feelings towards something instead of accepting it for what it is? And that has to go for where you are, where you were, and where you plan on going. See, when we walk around with blinders, we're doing this projection, and that's why we judge, and that's why we envy. So ask yourself often, is this what it is, or is it what I'm projecting onto it? And that can be very negative, or that can be a very, unicorns type of shit. It isn't nothing of what it really is, but you need it to be that, or it's worse. So uh, the self love of awareness, it's very difficult because anytime we talk about something, it's about, yes, it's about upgrading yourself. I just saw that word. So, and when when we need to upgrade ourselves, there's a lot of emotions that come in. We're not worthy. We don't have time for this. The kids, this, the job, and it's like you just need to stop. And what you need to do several times a day is what the Badass Buddha spoke about. You need to reset, to refocus, to readjust, to restart as many times as you need to regarding you. Go ahead.
Well, Diana, good morning, Diana. She brought up something really good. She
Buenos
said your
días.
values and beliefs need to upgrade too. Do you know how many times we've gone into our adulthood and really don't even know who the hell we are? We don't know. We don't even know our values. We sort of think we know our values because we've been brought up a certain way. But just because you've been brought up a certain way doesn't mean those values are really right for you. And it really takes you have to take that time to really sit with it. It's your life experiences also that change your values and belief systems or really emphasize them. Like that's where that upgrade comes from that Diana's talking about. Because I know for me, like, I mean, I grew up with values. I mean, I did, but my insecurities were so massive when I was a kid that as I became a teen, as I became adult, I was willing to discard a lot of my values to please other people to like me because I was such a massive people pleaser. And I mean, I look back at some of the stuff that I did, and my mother will never know, like some of the things that I did, some of the things that I saw, especially with my first marriage. And I would never want my children, especially my daughters. Well, I only have daughters, but I would never want my daughters ever to see and experience that because it was really not healthy and really not good. And I look back at that and I say to myself, my God, I really went even over my own values. Like I didn't have the courage to say no. Like I don't think so. That's not me. No thanks. Because I was such a people pleaser. And it took me to have to like literally hit my rock bottom and really analyze my whole entire like 30 years of living at that point in time, actually even probably more than that, and say, why did I let people just push me into a direction that I knew deep down in my gut I didn't feel comfortable with? So I had to own that piece of it. I had to say, that's because I didn't value myself. I mean, really, I mean, if I valued myself, I would be able to say no, which I do now. See, now I have that value and I have that boundary. So when somebody says this, and this, I'm like, yeah, that ain't for me, and I'm not mad about it. I'm not, if they tried to push me, I would get pissed off. But if they said, oh, I like doing this, I'd be like, I don't. And I've had that happen in the last few years where I've had somebody say to me, oh, I'm really into this. And I'm like, not me. And like, oh, you got to try it. It's really cool. I'm like, no, I don't, because that is something that is not good for me. I got invited to a sex club. Could you imagine that? Like the person said to me, "Oh, I go to this sex club and it's really awesome." And I'm like, "Good for you. Not my thing." "Oh, but you got to see it." It's like, nope. And then I ended that conversation. I'm like, I am so not into that, but no judgment here if that's what you're into.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. And that was it. And I held no grudge against the person. I had no judgment against the person. That's the lifestyle they choose. They're very clear on who they are. And that's what I choose to be, is very clear on who I am.
I think there's a lot of layers, like the onion that they always speak about. Women aren't like onions. We have a lot of layers to go down. And when we're working on one, something either surfaces, resurfaces, or takes us by total surprise, right? I think when you learn to be open with all the layers of yourself, you can be open to everyone around you. The badass Buddha and I were talking the other day, and when people are like, well, I don't like when people say that to me, you got to ask yourself why, because anybody can say anything, but why is it affecting you that way? Why is what they're, unless they're saying you are a sex addict, Dr. Lori Monaco. That's why I invited you to that sex club. You know what I mean? Now they're like, it's defamation of character, whatever. But when somebody said something, and I think we have to understand, we have, instead of being upset or whirling up somewhere nobody wants to follow us, ask yourself, why is this upsetting me? Like, why if somebody says this, why do I get all worked up? Because that's all you.
Well, understand but I got to jump in on this one. Understand something, that there are triggers, and that's what Diana was putting in there, and they can upset you. But then there's also proclaiming the fact that I don't like when people say that to me. It's not so much that it's an upsetting. It's just like, I don't like hearing that. Sometimes people will say things to you purposely to trigger you, or to be passive aggressive. And when you recognize that, like it's telling somebody to, it's also telling somebody to say, don't say that to me again, because I'm not giving you permission to say that. So we also have to decide like what it is that's being said.
What's a
and
trigger?
That's where I was getting from. Like for me, I don't remember what it was, but that's what it was for me. Was people feel like they can say that to me, and that's why that's what I was referring to. I just don't remember what the hell it was that was said.
But that's what I was getting to, because I don't like people saying something to me. I'll be like, I'm the first one. I don't get upset. I will tell you exactly why I don't want you saying that to me. I'm not going to drag it on for days. But we have to know the difference. And then we have to treat it accordingly. Are we going to waste our time saying it or not? See, 2023, there's a lot of stuff that are going to happen, whether you believe it or not. Call me a conspiracy theory. We're not going to go into it, but there are a lot of things that are going to happen this year. And so many people are so stuck on being sensitive and having these triggers and being like offended and, oh, you're crossing boundaries, when it's really, let's just get to know who we are. In the first 3 months of this year, let's get an understanding of who we are, because we already know who we are. We just been like not confronting it, right? So I get you, Diana. And a lot of people are still living in La La Land. You know how many people I've spoken to? They're like, oh, I don't want to hear none of that. I don't want to hear that, because what am I supposed to do to change it? And the thing is, we have to spiritually prepare for what's coming so that we can get a mental grasp on what it is we have to do. And a lot of people are just in denial of that. So coming up with being aware, the awareness part, in the beginning of this year for Viva, was very imperative to both the badass Buddha and I. And yeah, we need you to be aware of who you are, so you could know where to pull your strength from in those times when you're going to need it, those times when you're alone, when nobody's going to be there to encourage you. You're going to reach down and yank those big girl panties up, because that's where you're going to find your strength and your courage to do so. Because at the end of the day, most of the time, when you're in the most desperate need of something, you are all you have. So if you can't look in that mirror and say, oh my God, look at what we're going through again. I can't believe I put myself here. I can't believe I put my trust in that. Whatever the scenario is, because people will hurt you. People will take your kindness for weakness and try to hurt you and then call you sensitive. So you got to
That's the
figure out.
beauty. That's the beauty of the
But at
mind.
the end of the day, you got to figure out who the fuck you are
Yeah,
and what you will and will not allow.
come on, baby.
See, when I can deal with certain sensitivities, I'm not a badass, hardcore, no feeling type of woman. What I am is somebody who keeps my moral compass in my front pocket and who I know who I am, what I will accept and what I will not tolerate, and what I'm going to let slide. So you won't be triggered. You won't have this sensitive bout with whatever it is that's going on around you, within you, in front of the crowd. You're going to have control. And I don't mean control of not showing your emotions, control in an elegant way. You know, when you walk in your truth, it doesn't mean you're out here throwing arrows and daggers at everybody you don't like. What it means is you can say whatever it is you feel, and I may not like it, but I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to smile and say, have a good day. Because at the end of the day, that is not your issue. And if you're going to get offended of everything that is said in your presence, or then you know what? Stay home, because being aware of yourself is being aware of everything that's around you. And not everything is pretty. And not everything is kind. But if you carry that kindness in your heart and you walk covered in gratitude, then it's not going to affect you the way it should. And all of that stems by knowing who the hell you are at every second of the day. You're talking, you're having a good time, somebody comes in, beeps the horn, scares the shit out of you or whatever. You're like, oh, you have two ways you can handle it. Oh my God, you scared me. Oof. And you recover from that little fright, or you just lose your temper and go off. It's how you do it. It's not my fault. You got scared because the horn blew and now you got an attitude and you're just angry with everybody. But if you laugh, then my fear that maybe I can't voice out the way you do, it's going to dissipate a little. See, we are all important in everybody's life and wherever it is we're standing at that moment. So we have huge responsibilities on our backs as humans to share a kind humanness towards one another, stranger or not. So we get angry. A lot of us know we have that responsibility. A lot of us don't care. A lot of us get angry that we gotta, why can't somebody just come up and hug me? Just using that. Well, you know what? The lighthouse doesn't complain that it's always in darkness. And the lighthouse is always in darkness because the light goes out from it. It is the beacon, but it doesn't have the light shining upon it because it's casting it out to everyone who needs it. Sometimes we are that lighthouse. We were born into that purpose. You know, what better gift is that? But when we are aware of who we are, then we understand what's our assignment in life. And sometimes our assignment in life is to go through hurdles and disappointments. Because at the end, when you keep going, you look back and you're like, wow, I've been through a lot. And look what I'm doing today. I'm a people person. I'm offering insight spiritually, mentally, physically. You know, there's trainers, there's physical healers of all kinds, there's empowerment groups, you know. Look at who you are. That's why last week's conversation was who are you in the mirror was very, very imperative to each and every one of us, because when I did it after the show, it reminded me what my purpose is, you know, and what I'm doing, what I chose to do as a career at this point in my life, outside of my many writer, painter, creator, you know, talk show host and all that I have going on. The job I chose to do, it's like, and nobody could believe that I would go into that. But that is my purpose at this point in my life. And I fought it. The first 2 months I fought it. And now I'm like, okay, I'll be there until I'm not there. But when we take that look at yourself, who are you? When we take that responsibility of the awareness of what we need to enhance and what we need to just cut off of our own lives. You know, we're so busy saying, I'll cut this one off. I don't need this person. They're going to be like that. Well, who the hell are you to yourself? That's what all this is about. Who are you to you? We must be aware of what we need. Last week I said, stop organizing the things you need to eliminate. How many Rubbermaids have you moved from the attic to the basement to the closet to the living room because you got to go through it, and then a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, you're shoving it back in the closet because something else took precedence? Why do we continue to organize what we need to eliminate? And then get mad when we're called a hoarder. Just saying, pay attention. Be aware of your life, what is said, what you do, how many times you trip over something before you pick it the hell up and throw it out or put it back in its proper place. We're all busy, but remember what my thing is. Busy means being under Satan's yoke. So take a breather, rest, sit down, either play some Nina Simone or play nothing, and just breathe and just sit there and do nothing. Regroup with you, with your mind, body, and your soul. Be aware so that no one else can tell you who you are, can tell you what you should be doing. I'm telling you, and it's hard, but life that is easy is just a life that is easy. It is through the hard parts of our lives that we learn. Remember, I wrote something. To battle beautifully means when you go into a battle, you're going to be faced with many things. Do it with grace. Put that smile on and roll up your sleeves and do the damn work. Because when you come out of that battle, it's going to be you standing with all your scars. Now tell me, where's your energy level now to heal yourself? Because you can pay 1,000,001 person for therapy, for life coaching. At the end of the day, it's you and that reflection in the mirror that's going to heal you.
That's
They're
right.
giving you advices and opinions. So stop relying on people to sew you up and to put a band-aid on you. And let's start finally, because we've been talking about this since 2020. Let's finally start to take on the responsibility to heal, to understand, and to enjoy who the hell we are, where we are at this moment.
And getting back to something that Gladiator Guru said when we were speaking, I mentioned it earlier. The comment, the sentence, not where I want to be, exactly where I need to be. If you are not where you want to be, you have to acknowledge the fact that you are exactly where you need to be at this moment. You are here because you put yourself here, right? So the good, the bad, and the ugly, and understanding that and accepting that, being aware of that, not getting depressed about it. Oh, I hate my fucking life. I can't stand being here, blah, blah, blah. And you just ruminate on it. You have to say, okay, you know what? This is where I am right now. And obviously I need to be here because of, I don't know. You don't even have to fill in the blank. You don't have to know why you're there. Usually it presents itself. You just have to accept the fact that you are.
That you're there. You ever do that? You're like, what? Or you go out with someone and it sounds like a great idea, then you're there and you're like, why the hell am I here? What was I thinking? And instead of just going down that rabbit hole of your feelings, of your thoughts, look around. Look around at wherever you are, because you're there for a reason. Listen, I believe in Yahweh. I believe in God. And I believe that He makes no mistakes. And I believe there are no coincidences in this life. We are placed in where people, places, and things are for a reason. Either we're supposed to learn something or we're supposed to share something. That's part of being aware of where you are. So, like, people like, don't you ever get bored? I never get bored. If I don't like being somewhere, like, totally it's too much noise and it's like nails on a chalkboard for me, I'm out. I don't care who gets mad. Oh, you're leaving, but thank you, but I'm out. Don't
Amen.
ever force yourself to stay somewhere you don't want to be because somebody might get
Oh,
mad
and
at you.
how
Like,
many
who does
times have
that?
we done that? I've done that. I'm still in a way doing that, but that's just it. It's like you can't beat yourself up. You can only beat yourself up so many times. And then you have to say, okay, I'm done beating myself up. Like I can't do that anymore. It's not productive. So that's it. Accept where you are at this moment in time. We're going to talk about that. That's coming up in the month, but in next month. But be aware. Like be aware. Don't have any emotion to it. Don't get pissed off at yourself. Just say, okay, I'm where I need to be. You don't think I get upset when I look at my situation right now, like my bank account, my whatever, when I could have been making a lot of money if I moved in November. Like I was set to make a very, very good salary and I didn't go. And I lost a lot that month. Like, I mean, that at the end of the year, like there were all those things that I did not cross off on my goal list. I lost that because, the fact that I wanted to change my environment, I wanted to get away from certain people. I wanted to start a new life for me and my children. That was all gone. All of it. It was all gone because I ended up making a different choice and I don't regret it. There's a little part of me that sometimes pities myself, like we'll get into those pity parties, but I don't regret it. I needed to be here, because I needed to be here with my dad. And so now I have to move past that. Any resentment that I feel, not towards him, towards myself, any regret, that needs to be pushed out. It needs to be acknowledged, but it needs to be pushed out to make room for what is to come for
Yes.
2023.
Yes, that was absolutely everything she said. And you see, you got me, and then you got her. You got the comments from those loyal people that come on. And I don't know what the hell is going on with these algorithms on my Facebook. So Lori, I try to look every time whose birthday, but I don't know who else has been happening to. It's sideline, sideline, sideline. But like Francia, I couldn't post a happy birthday on her page. My friend Al, I couldn't post. It didn't leave me to post, so I had to put a post. I had to say a happy birthday with someone else's post, wishing them a happy birthday. Has that been happening to anybody? Have you been sharing happy birthdays to anybody? Okay, so it's probably me. That's right. I'm just so tired of social media. So happy birthday, badass. What a terrible co-host am I?
Why?
Yes, they've been my friends for years. Technology is killing me too, Gail. It really is. It keeps
Well,
you
we
in the
rely
same
on it
loop.
too much. We
It's
rely
like
on
it's
the
preventing us from growing our businesses, from growing an audience, because it's the same people. Do you know that I got Happy New Year's stuff from like 4 days after New Year's? That's why that was on my timeline, was everybody posting Happy New Year on January 1st. So and I tried to, refresh, but anyway, I lost 2 months of podcast. Look at that. It's really bad. So happy birthday to you. Birthdays are so important to me. It marks the entry of our souls into this world, into humans. And, people want to run from it, declare it not non-existence, do whatever. But death is also that beauty part of birth. And so I make birthdays really, really big. I used to. And then my birthday, I was working and I said, oh my God, why don't I feel bad? And it was like, because I'm grateful to be living every day of my life.
I've always worked on my
So
birthday. I've always
things
worked on
change.
Mother's Day, birthdays. It always ended up that's always
But
how it was.
even yours is an angel number, 111.
111,
Oh,
never
you're 112. You see? I don't even
it's
know what day I'm living. Anyway,
literally today. It's
so what were we saying?
we were talking about you said something. You said that you want to make you're projecting for us for the future for the tribe. It is. We want you, with everything that we go over between now and the end of the second quarter, right? So April, May, I'm sorry, January, February, March, April, May, June, right? The end of the second quarter. We want you to have the statement. This came from Gladiator Guru, is how fucking awesome am I going to be in June? With all the things that you work on, that we're all discussing and we're all working on, because Gladiator Guru and I are working as well. All those things, we want to be able to hit June and say, how fucking awesome am I going to be in June? Because we're building up, we're putting the work in. You've got to do the work. I mean, Gladiator was talking about, coaching, and, you could go to the coaches. Yeah. I mean, we're not stupid. We want you to go to us because we have information for you, and we have great information for you. We're both very good at what we do. The thing is, you got to do the work. You can't do it for 2, 3, 4 months and then come back and say, you didn't help me. It's like, you didn't do the work. You didn't do the work. I've been coached before, and yes, I would love to blame the coach for the things that did not happen in my life. But the reality is that I didn't do the work, so that's that. I have to take responsibility for that. And I got to tell you that doing the work is so much fun. It sucks sometimes, but in the end, it's fun because you really do get to know who you are. And yeah, there'll be moments where you get really pissed off when you start looking back and going, who was I then? And you're like, how the freak could I have been that way? I look back at that. When I look back and say, my God, I had no values. Like, I had no boundaries, no values. It frustrates me. I look back at that and go, how pathetic. What a pathetic individual. And I don't mind saying that because that was true.
It does growth.
And the thing is that I'm not now. That's the difference. I don't look at myself and go, I was pathetic then, I'm pathetic now. Maybe you do feel that way because maybe you haven't changed anything. Because if you still let people do the things that you did before and there's really no difference, then you are still doing the same thing. So acknowledge it and then say, okay, well, this is who I was then. This is who I am now. And you can start. I mean, it's not saying you have to wait for us to the next month of what we're going to discuss. It's just that you could start the process. You could start thinking ahead of yourself and start saying, okay, I'm accountable. I have to accept this piece. We're going to talk about that in the upcoming months, but it's still good to hear it, because then we check in February to see if you actually implemented that stuff. If we're talking about in the month of February, accountability and acknowledge and acceptance, we only have 2 more weeks left. We're going to be in that conversation. And if in the next 2 weeks you said, well, I've become aware of it and I'm going to do something about it. And then we come to February and you're like, okay, did you acknowledge it? Do you accept it? That is a really heavy piece. And I don't think people really understand how heavy acknowledging and accept. It's one thing to say, this is who I am. This is who I am. But when you actually say, oh God, this is who I am. Like, this is who I am. Like, oh, and it's so much to the point where you don't even want to admit it.
Refocus and readjust. I mean, when you hit that reset, it's not just about you chilling. It's about, you gotta, look what Gail said. I was caustic, harsh, defensive, pretty inner city kid personality. That's how I was raised. I was raised on survival mode in one of the worst housing projects in the state of Connecticut. The first housing project in the state of Connecticut. And coming from a biracial lineage, my mother was a very light-skinned, blondish Italian, and my father was a very dark-skinned, jet black hair Puerto Rican. So here we are, these in between, having to let people know we're not the ones. So that was fighting every day. That was standing up. So then you come to a place in your life where you say, I have to change for me, because I was that. Well, this is how I am. Either you like it or not, I'll move the fuck on. And now I think I'm a little softer around the edges, if I may say so myself. Am I going to completely not be the Margarita that was raised for 50 years of her life? No, I'm always going to be her. She's just not going to be the prominent personality. Okay, it's a more understanding, a more acceptance, the more aware of who I am and what can I provide in my humanness not in my survival mode. So we are who we are. Okay. When we become aware of, oh my God, I can't believe I allowed that to happen in my life, you also got to say, thank God that I'm here to compare what I allowed and what I will no longer allow. Because how many people in that in between give up on themselves and dissipate from the world? Right? So
Yes.
the thing is, be aware that you do have the strength, that you do have the courage to make a change in your life because you're present. Of everything that's happened to you, you're still here today. So you are courageous. You are a strong warrior because you never gave up on your you, whether you liked the you were or not. But you didn't give up. You're still here. So make it your intention to celebrate yourself here on Lori's birthday. Celebrate that you are present in your life to make the choices of making a change for the better. Because remember, you are born to die. That's just the actual factual truth. We are born to die. What are you doing in between? You know, when you open that Oreo cookie, I don't like Oreo cookies, by the way, but you know, when you open an Oreo cookie, people get Oreo cookies, they open it, and the first thing they do is lick that middle cream. Be the cream in your Oreo.
Oh, you just got me excited.
That's what you have. That's what you have.
Oh, I know what I want for my birthday. And it ain't an Oreo cookie.
So be present for yourself. Make that your awareness of the day. Don't bully yourself. Don't speak negatively to yourself. Don't feel anything that is not a smile. Feel the smile raising from your big toe. You can do that. Be aware of how you're treating this so you could know how to heal this. Because only you can do the job. Spend all the money you want, but it's still ultimately your decision to want to have a better life and to be aware of your you in your today, not who the hell you were yesterday. That happened to lead you to who you are today. Let's work on today forward. Don't forget the past, because I'll tell you, never forget where you came from. It molded you. Huh?
I like what Gail put, because she says, and I say, make your choices delicious. And I always think of Ephraim, because he always uses that word. And I love that word. Like it's such a beautiful word to use aside from food, because it is so descript, and it really puts an emotion to it. So absolutely, absolutely. We can't beat ourselves up for bad choices, because based on the beliefs and values that we've held in the past, or our behaviors, especially our beliefs specifically, that we thought were good or not, whatever. Like the whole point is to take a step back and really look at and say, oh my God, maybe I was wrong, or maybe this wasn't okay, or maybe I was perfectly correct. Look at over the history, people's perspectives have changed when they experience things. Think about people who were racist, who grew up in a very specific environment, and those were the values they held, and they had this belief system, and then they get out and about and they go, oh my God, I realized I was so wrong. Like, it was so wrong to feel that way about a group of people when there was no reason to feel that way, but I was brought up that way. So each person is an individual. When we are raised by people who are individuals, who believe themselves to be individuals, and they raise us based on their experiences and beliefs. And some of them are very hardcore into making us believe what they believe, and others are just like, they put it out there and then you do what you want to do. And it is up to us to take all that information and look around and say, okay, well, this works for me, when this works for me, and what this doesn't work for me. And because you are you, right? So you can't sit there and blame, well, that's how I was raised. Okay, true enough. But if you are looking back now going, I didn't like the way I was raised, then what the hell are you using that as the excuse for? Then don't be that person anymore. Just say, this is what I learned from you. Gladiator Guru had a really rough upbringing, and she lived in a rough neighborhood, and that upbringing served her well in a lot of her life, and still does. It gave her an awareness. She's not walking around blindly going, I'm going to walk through this really, questionable area, with my money hanging out of my pocket. Like, there are people out there that do that. They're like completely clueless. They walk around because they've never experienced that, because they lived in their bubble. Right. So, but you don't have to be on either end, like, oh, the bubble people are wrong. The people who are hardcore, don't trust anybody, are wrong. Why can't we just take a little bit from all of it, and then you decide what works for you? It's like the idea of saying, okay, I'm very aware that the world is crazier than ever. I'm very aware that the world is getting more dangerous. I'm also very aware that there's some really phenomenal people out there, like freaking amazing, awesome people. And that's who I choose to be with. However, when I traveled with my kids, both times cross country, all right, when I was in the car for 3 weeks one time, 2 weeks the other, I have my permit, my gun permit. I took it. And I wasn't licensed in some of the states. Actually, when I went to Kentucky and Tennessee, I was actually licensed to carry on me, because they recognized Connecticut's permit. But the rest of them, I just locked it up in my little safe, kept it in the seat, did exactly what I was supposed to do. And I thought to myself that the consequences, even if I get pulled over and I find out that I wasn't allowed to do that, I'm willing to accept the consequences, because for me, I felt, my belief, it was better for me with my children that I had it there. Would I use it? I don't know. If I had to, I suppose. But that was my belief system. That might not work for everybody. And I recognize that. So, but that was my belief system, that came with me. That was part of it, because times have changed. I was a little bit happier to know that in Kentucky and Tennessee that I could actually carry, that I could actually have it with me, as opposed to just keeping it in the hotel room or something like that in the other states. So, but that's me. I'm not saying you need to do that. That's me, do I feel the need to carry it wherever I go? No. Do I feel the need that it's a possibility? Sure. Because again, when you look at what's happening around us, but again, that's my choice. So we have to take what works best for us. We have to really understand who the hell we are. We can't just mishmash. Well, I like this belief and I like this belief. It's fine if you do, but own it. That's the thing. Who are you then and now? Take the then and look at that and say, well, this part of me I really liked then. And are you that person now? Well, no. Like, I was an adventurer when I was younger. Like, I didn't give a shit. I would get in my car and go. I would go on hikes. I would do all kinds of stuff. I would try new things. And I got older and I stopped doing it. And I hate it. I don't like that about myself. So what am I going to do about it? Be an adventurer now. I can't why? Because I can't do the things that I used to do. Well, I better get my ass in shape so that I can do the things that I can do. And maybe I don't want to do everything. I wanted to jump out of a plane when I was younger. Yeah, I'm good with that. I don't want to do that right now. Maybe I will.
I don't want my breath taken away from me in that way.
Yeah, I want it in other ways. Yes. But again, it's about really, saying, okay, that's who I was. Let me get rid of the bad parts that I didn't really like, that didn't serve me. Let me bring back the good parts. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that one of the greatest things that happened with the birth of my last child, I was 43 years old when I had her, and I was a little worried about that, but I don't think about how old I am. But the one thing, the beauty of her is that she's a little me. Like, literally, seriously, and I'm not saying it to be arrogant. She's got my personality. She's just bolder. She's a hell of a lot bolder than I ever was. But she loves animals. She's an adventurer. She's an outdoorsy person. She gets like, she'll pick up stuff, and even if it's gross, that's how I was. And she's allowed me to rediscover my child. The difference is she's bolder than I was. And I look at that and go, boy, what could I have done, like, in my lifetime, if I had been as bold as she? And what is she going to do in her lifetime that I need to nurture it? So she reintroduced me to my little self. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy about that because I'm loving being around the animals again. Like I love animals. Like I love, love, love animals. Like when I tell you that I'd be happy living on my farm, picking up horse manure and goat poop. I'm not kidding. Not pig or cow. They stink. I don't like them. But that's how I know myself because she reminded me of a part that I forgot that I really truly loved. And her attitude is so let's just go. Let's just go. Whereas my middle daughter developed so much anxiety based on the mother that she was raised with at that time. And even though we were doing things here and there was a point where I just sort of stopped. And now she's not as much, she's afraid to, but she's getting better because now she's starting to embrace the fact that I'm that way and she sees her little sister that way. So listen, you've got to really look at those old parts of you and then the current parts of you and be honest with yourself. Like you always say, right, Gladiator Guru, don't lie to yourself. Go ahead and
Don't
say
lie
it.
to yourself because, you know,
Say it in Spanish.
nunca te engañes. You know, let me tell you, everything you say, everything you said is, you know, and that's why I love it because she and I have a different tone of how we say things. People like to say that I'm aggressive, and I'm not. I'm assertive.
She's assertive.
That's my claim to fame. I'm assertive. You won't be around me when you see me aggressive. And I tried. That's one of the
I don't
things
want to be around you.
going into that is what I'm saying is, you know, the badass Buddha said, I grew up, yeah, I was raised in a household where trust should have never been a part of my resume. Not trusting in any female friends because of the betrayals that we witnessed from all of my father sleeping with all of my mother's friends and even having children with them. Um, Growing up with the alcoholism, with the drug use and the pill popping. And you know what? I grew up with all of that, very much aware of it, suffered a lot of harm due to some of that personally on my body. And I, till today, I still say that everyone I meet, I give them an A until they fuck it up.
And that's
So
big. That's a big deal.
it's huge. It is huge. And I never thought about it because I just lived my life that way, you know? I cannot project my insecurities because I was wounded, because I wasn't protected by the very people that signed on to do this job for me. I cannot project that on everybody I come across. Now, I know people, close family members, DNA, that have no trust. They trust nobody they meet. Every man is a cheater and a liar, and every female is out to take what you built with that man. So that's awful living. You know, it's awful. And so I couldn't do that. So everyone I meet, I read the room. I'm aware of their body language. I'm aware of how they're looking at me. And
You wear this?
everybody's, hey, how you doing? I'm Margarita. Margarita, nice to meet you. Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because my life is very valuable. And as the badass Buddha said earlier, I know we're running out of time. You know, things are going to be said to us where we're going to be like, oh, hell no, you ain't talking to me like that. I'm not going to say, oh, I don't like when people say that to me. I'm going to say, you're not going to talk to me like that. Where the hell you think you are? Or who the hell? You know, it just happened at work last night. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not mad at you, but you're coming out your mouth way too crazy. Let me break it down. And I was fuming. And there were other coworkers there. And you know what? I don't care. Because you're not going to do this. You're not going to have an excuse for such behavior that affect the life of these elderly. And I don't care who you are or how cool we are. But what you did was wrong. And what's wrong is wrong is wrong. And that's it. So if you know, just stand up for yourself. Be your sidekick, you know. Be that person that's going to always support you. Be the person that's going to be the truth teller in your life. You know, get a deck of cards and read your own tarot in front of the mirror and tell yourself, tighten up, Get up, dress up, show up, and be the best you can possibly be in any scenario that is happening in your life at that moment, because that's all you have. All of us, we're chatter, and we say some very, very smart things. Do we not? But at the
Someone's
end of the
too.
day, it's what you want to do. So want to choose wisely for your life. And that's it. Kathy said something where she said adults deserve more play in their lives. I know I do. I love playing with our grandbabies. Things are more serious when we had our children. I'm healing so much of myself. Exactly. I'm like the best grandma ever because I have fun with them. And mine range from age 20 to 2, and I can be whoever I want. And my kids are gonna yell at me, get out of here. They're my grandkids, and when they're with me, we talking and we doing and we're laughing, and that's it. And then you take them back. It's true, right? As an adult, you have to be this parent. You're responsible. You got to work. You got to pay the bills. You got to make sure they got a roof over their head. You got to make sure they have clean underwear. You got to make sure their socks are clean, that they have food, that you
they
put
do
them to
their
bed early.
homework.
It's too much work. It was a job I never signed on for. And then I went ahead and did it twice. So,
And you did it well.
all that to say, I love being a grandma, abuela. My 2-year-old finally says, "Hi, abuela," because she was refusing to before. And that's it. And sometimes you got to find the joys in life that matter more than money, more than a bank account. You know, little Charlotte reminds me, she's just this iridescent little fairy to me. Charlotte is Lori's daughter because she's so mutable. She changes. She's not afraid. And she might seem timid at first, but if she's like, I want blue hair today, you know what the beauty part of it? Not that she's asking for blue hair, but that her mama's going to say, okay, let's go get the stuff.
Yeah, she's red right now.
You know, and that's what life is about. We cannot project our insecurities, how we like blue hair. That's going to look ugly. You're not going to do that. We cannot do that. And then say we want our children to grow up to be independent. So you are a living role model. And you should talk more about that, Laura, because there's a lot of parents that need to take a step back. And, you know, it's not permanent. It'll wash out. But you know what? Let them experience that so they're not hiding and doing things in secret. So with that, I want to say, I love you.
Oh, me?
Everybody.
Or the tribe.
The tribe, you included.
Yes.
Let's make that, what's that word they're using today now? Like, let's make that normal to say, I love you to people.
Oh, yeah. I'm into that. Yes.
I said it to my coworker the other day. He looked and I said, I'm not in love with you. I'm just saying I had such a great conversation that I'm oozing with love. And he's like, that was beautiful. I needed that today because
I agree.
He's in his 60s.
Totally agree.
But we have great conversations. Oh, Milagros, there you go. Thank you. She knew the assignment. She's following through. Good job. You know, and just it. Love is love is love is love. And Yahweh, El Shaddai, Elohim, Rapha, Hires, Adonai, all of God's names that are beautiful is love.
And with that, we want to end this with, you have to say this, the what you said when we were having the conversation the other day. You said, come along for the ride. What did you say?
Hold on, because I think I had to write it. No.
I have it here, but I wanted you to say it. I don't want to have to be.
You can say it.
Come along for the ride. Come along for the ride or back the fuck up. Beep, beep, beep.
Either you're on or you're off. There's no waiting. There's no pulling over and wondering, where is she? She said a minute. No. Either you come or you stay. That's the only choices going forward. Either you're into it or you're not. Whether you're on board or you're not. Whether you're going to dedicate.
And it's your life.
That's it.
It's your life. It's not, we're not telling you to come with us. We're telling, I mean, you can, but you have to, you're walking your own path parallel. But it's like, this is when do we step into ourselves and say, this is my life. I'm not going to live somebody else's life. The only way to do that is to recognize who you are and where
Mm-hmm.
your starting point is. And then going from there and building up and saying, this is what I really want. I mean, like you had said, I'm not where I want to be, but exactly where I need to be. And then we have to transition that into, okay, where I need to be right now, but this is where I want to be. So what do I need to do between here and there to make that happen? And doing the same thing over and over again ain't going to be the thing that you need to do, because
It's
that's just going
not.
to keep you exactly where you are.
And you know why? You need to want, because you are so worthy. You are worthy of everything
And we need
that your
you.
soul desires. You put it out the work with no expectations. Being aware of who you are is not having expectation, not placing expectations on people, places, and things, only yourself. Expect the best of you when you rise every single morning.
All
The
right.
only expectations you need to have. And guess what? You will never be disappointed. Nobody can disappoint you. Places can't disappoint you, because you, at the end of the day, are all you have. And you're building that you to be stronger, secure, and beautiful. And with that,
Hell yeah. So Tuesday, next week, Tuesday, how did I get here? So you are acknowledging who you are now and then. And now and then we're gonna talk on Tuesday is how did I get here? And then on Thursday, we're going to have our first guest of the year, which is a fabulous guest. Liza Tuck is coming on. And we're going to ask a very annoying question. And it really gets to people. What are you tolerating? What are you tolerating in your life? And we're going to talk about why this is such a really poignant question to ask and be honest with yourself about. So, with that, everybody have an absolutely fabuloso weekend. See, I said it. Did I say it kind of in Spanish, right?
yes,
Fabulous.
you
Okay.
did.
So white. I said it's so white.
You said it, and it
Fabuloso.
reminded me of the cleaner, Fabuloso. I love the
I'll
way
say it
it
very
smells.
white though.
I love the way it smells.
Fabuloso weekend. Por favor. All right. And from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.